Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, Mr. Vidyasagar called me a few days ago, and he said, will you speak at the Deftronics 17? And I asked him where, and he said Hyderabad, and I said yes. Very simple. I was born in Hyderabad, never lived here. Actually, my father lives not far from here. It's almost walking distance. So this is very special to me. Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be here this afternoon. The topic this afternoon is major opportunities in aerospace and defense for global markets. And I thought I'll first introduce Centum for a couple of minutes and then talk about the opportunities for global markets and how to get there, and also some of the challenges that one may face in getting there. Centum was founded about 23 years ago, and today we are about 2,600 people worldwide and 7 operational sites in India, France, and Canada. We are listed on Mumbai. Is it too? Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better? Okay. Centum was founded 23 years ago, and today we are about 2,600 people worldwide in 7 operational sites in India, France, and Canada. We are listed on the Mumbai National Stock Exchange. We cater to defense and aerospace, space, industrial, transport, medical, and communication segments. 90% of our revenues come from global markets. We have more than 650 design engineers in the group spread across France, Canada, and India who work on analog, digital, RF, power, mixed domains. Centum has continuously invested in strengthening its design and product development capabilities and has also established a truly world-class high-tech manufacturing facilities, which today are spread across multiple locations across the world. Centum is the only ESDM company which has received the honor of being recognized as the Global Growth Company by the World Economic Forum. Our customers are Fortune 100 companies, and specifically in the defense and aerospace sector, we work with customers like Airbus, who's right here, Thales, Raytheon, L3 Communications, Rafale, Safran, and in India, of course, we work with ISRO and DRDO labs. Coming to the global opportunities, let me talk about the markets first. In terms of markets and market access, the defense and aerospace sector is still a highly protected market, as there is only one customer, which is normally the government of the country the company operates in. Also, the defense and aerospace market can be classified as defense, military aerospace, and civil aerospace. The opportunities in defense and military aerospace is program-based, which means business comes and goes, you have peaks and valleys. Whereas the civil aerospace is annuity business, which is a lot more predictable, which is clearly better for the business. But actually getting qualified for civil aerospace is much more difficult than getting qualified for the defense aerospace. The entry into these markets, because of the reasons that I just mentioned, is extremely challenging. Typically, none of the foreign governments, nor the OEMs, I know I have a couple of colleagues sitting on the stage, but the truth is none of the OEMs would create a supply chain outside their own countries until there is a compulsion. The best thing that the Indian government did to develop the DNA industry in India was to introduce the defense offset policy. Due to the policy instituted by the government, India has become a potential source of supply to this industry segment for the global markets. Normally, as a first step, the global OEMs would source product from India that will be a part of the final system that will be supplied back to India. The next step is they would use this very same product for their global markets and not just for the Indian markets. This is if we are doing a good job. And finally, they would make the Indian company a part of their global supply chain by sourcing products which need not be a part of any system that is actually supplied to India, which means the Indian company becomes a part of their normal business and not because of a compulsion of offset requirement by the government. To get to this point, of course, one has to meet the global standards of quality, on-time delivery, and competitive pricing. This is mostly build-to-print business that I just talked about. Another opportunity that we see is the focus on indigenization in the Indian marketplace, whether it is in DRDO or defense PSUs. Once a product is indigenized and qualified, the same product can be exported to global markets. The good news is the global markets for any product is normally significantly higher than the Indian market, because the Indian market is quite small compared to the world markets. And hence, your indigenization efforts bring you a multifold opportunity. Not only this, there could be a market opportunity for the variants of the indigenized products. But a word of caution here, entering the world markets takes substantial resources in sales and marketing and long gestation periods. And believe me when I say this, because we've gone through that process. The natural progression to what I just said is when the large global customers get the confidence that you have the right design and manufacturing capability, you become a natural extension to their technology roadmap, and we get opportunities to design and build complex products for their next generation programs. This, in my mind, would be where a lot of Indian companies should aspire to be. And the reason for this is, while you design and develop complex products, there is a lot of learning that happens, which develops the skills and competencies of the organizations to compete with the best across the globe. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're competitive, and not because there is a compulsion by the government of India. Then, of course, there are other ways of bringing in technology. I noticed Mr. Acharya was saying that acquiring technology is a little bit of a challenge. One of the ways to do it is actually go out and acquire a company outside of India who has the technology and who also have the market access. So that's another way to do it. But all of these things are not that very easy, but clearly that is another business model. Finally, to conclude, I think the government, by introducing the offset policy and now the Make in India initiative, has done its bit in opening up the opportunities for the Indian companies to become a part of the defense and aerospace supply chain. Now the onus is on the Indian industry to do its bit and look for different models and solutions to realize this opportunity. The defense and aerospace business is not for the faint-hearted and will take a lot of perseverance and tenacity to be successful. But I'm sure the Indian businesses are definitely capable and become a force to reckon with in the global markets in the future. Thank you and good luck. We have another 15 minutes or so, and so I think we're open for questions. So, yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, I am Anupam Sharma from DRDO. See, whenever we read something, there is a big difference between science and technology, developed country and the developing countries. And always we debate about the state-of-art technology, enabling technologies, and the emerging technologies. Let me give you one example. I read a book, Another 100 Years of Internet. I was surprised that the author has written another 100 years, every 10 years, how that transition has to be there in the field of internet. I was motivated by the vision of the author who could think about it. Today, we work with private industries, we work with MSMEs, and everybody wants to work to indigenize their product. What I feel is there is a joint vision between a defense industry, the private industry, the education institutions, which is missing. Any industry which comes as a small industry, they want what they are going to do another 30 years of time. But our vision is mostly limited to the 10 years. Now, I just want to ask this forum, is it possible to have a vision document highlighting the technologies in terms of the short term, mid-term, and the long term, and have a synergetic effort that we synchronize the defense, the industry, and the educational institution towards that vision document. Like Deftronics as part of it, if next time if it is coming, can we come out with a vision document? And that vision document is going to give a good vision to the companies that what is going to be the potential market for which defense is looking, what are the areas, and in terms of the technology contribution. Thank you.
Mr. Acharya, I think you're probably most.
Thanks, that's a good question. See, as far as BL is concerned, we have a vision document, which is now we have worked out the Vision 2030, which brings out a short-term and long-term vision goals. Not only in different areas, it also, along with that, we have a technology roadmap to reach that vision goal, infrastructure upgradation, technology roadmap, collaborative R&D partners, partnership with DRDO labs and all spelled out. But if you talk about India as a whole, to meet the India's A&D requirement, I think that needs to be driven by the government, Ministry of Defense. I heard some talk about this. Prime Minister also mentioned about this. But we need to have a long-term vision document. I think eventually it should emerge, and that will definitely be of help. Thank you.
I think service headquarters have initiated their own long-term vision and plans. In general, some of the technologies have been specified which are relevant in short term, mid-term, and long-term. Though these are very general in nature, I think there has always been talks of expanding that particular horizon where they could specifically ask what is needed. But to my mind, the general trend they have already set in by issuing some of the vision documents.
See, one comment I would like to make is that, obviously we would make a vision going beyond 10 or 20 years is essentially what's going to happen is our vision is limited by what we know today, right? 5 years down the line, if there's a new technology that comes up, certainly you can keep sharpening your vision in terms of what's included that gets discovered as we go. Like, for example, in the aviation sector right now, we are looking or thinking about an airplane that will fly from London to Sydney in 3 hours. Now, that's a vision. What is it restricted by? It is essentially restricted by materials that can withstand temperatures up to 3000 degrees Celsius. Because if it were to go from London to Sydney in 3 hours, the speed at which it would fly, it will essentially generate a temperature on the surface of the airplane for about 3000 degrees. Now, what does that need? A material that can sustain that much. So, what do we know today? Yes, there are some materials that are available, but they still can't go to 3000. Now, fine. So, this is where we are limited right now. Okay, it can go up to, let's say, 2000, and then it stops. And then we go into a discovery mode. 3 years down the line, yes, if we put efforts in it and come up with that material, the vision suddenly has a better direction. So the point here is you could paint a 100-year vision, but obviously it evolves, and it's currently restricted by what you know or what you can, let's say, imagine as far as it could.
I just wanted to add one quick point to what you just said. Also, in terms of defense and aerospace, it's really what your competition is doing. Because you can have a vision and somebody comes up with a product which is far superior than yours, then you have to do something about that. So I think it has to be very dynamic. So that's the important part. Yes, please.
My name is Krishna Surohi. My question has got two parts. One is primarily for I'm forgetting the name, Ashish. That what we are normally hearing an opportunity is a manufacturing opportunity, participating in the manufacturing processes by supplying systems, subsystems, integrations, and I know that say, many companies like yours in Europe, they participate with many design companies for the future systems design. So it's a right collaborative R&D projects. So do you think in India you will also have some such similar programs? And I have a second question, let me put that. Second question is primarily to Mr. Acharya, Bharat Electronics, that Bharat Electronics has got a collaborative R&D program announced from quite some years. Right? I just want to hear from you is that has there been any call from Bharat Electronics for any futuristic capable or systems to be designed, and you didn't get the right response from the Indian partners? So I believe there's a lot of capable design services organizations available within the country. If a organization like Bharat Electronics or others can provide a right umbrella to organize these energies, something very significant can come out. So my basic question from all that, what are the collaborative R&D opportunities which we can discuss in this forum? Thank you.
So to your question, we already have two types of programs to foster what you said is essentially R&D, but R&D related to something breakthrough. Incremental R&D is something that we do ourselves, and the evolutions of the configurations that we have right now is kind of an existing ongoing program. We have two programs related to enhancing groundbreaking technology. For example, one is something called as a BizLab, wherein we actually bring in companies who have to demonstrate a concept, and we select a few concepts, we fund it ourselves to actually pilot it inside the company on a particular platform or a particular program and so forth, and see how scalable it is, and if it is demonstrating the scalability, we actually deploy it across the board. It's called Airbus BizLabs. The other avenue is essentially the same, except that if there is a technology or a evolution that is demonstrated by multiple companies, we actually come in and invest in those companies through Airbus Ventures and actually take them to the next level, giving them a platform inside of Airbus to actually propagate that technology through various platforms, internal aircraft platforms or programs that exist across the globe.
Your point on collaborative R&D. Actually, the collaborative R&D in BEL has started long ago, but as a system, we started around 5 years back. Mainly, as you know, we have a vision, 2030 vision, and there are various, and the technology roadmap. And many developments are to be undertaken where we are unable to do. Our focus has been on the main core developments, which is essential for a defense product and system. And collaborative R&D main focus is on the non-core areas. Currently, it may go into core area. And we have a process where we visit the collaborative R&D potential partners and identify, we look at the system, they are requested to come and give a presentation, there will be interaction, they get registered as a collaborative partner. Many areas it has happened in components, microwave super components, in the defense and aerospace area also. Many things are happening. It will continue to grow in the coming years when we grow exponentially to meet our Vision 2030 requirement.
I think, yeah, please. We can.
Yeah, so all four of you are global players in A&D, and all four of you are majorly outsourcing a lot of the work to MSMEs, right? Just wanted to understand what are the major challenges you're facing with giving out this work, and what is the ideal partner you're looking for when you're looking at such MSMEs. Coming from a MSME myself, just trying to understand whom are you looking for, and how do we get there, right?
Very quickly, from my side, we work with a lot of MSMEs. I think we should look at it both from an opportunity standpoint and the challenges, which is what you're talking about, more challenges. I think there's a lot of opportunity in terms of, I think how do you say, the willingness to do is very high. Smaller companies, they're much more agile, they move quickly, they're very willing. And it's easy to get things done. The challenge normally is in defense and aerospace, the quality requirements are very high, the skill levels required are very high. Sometimes the infrastructure required is very expensive, and some of them may not be able to invest. So these are some of the challenges, but then I think, for example, in terms of testing, government is looking at creating some common test labs where MSMEs can go and use that test lab, so that can be covered. And I think these are, in my mind, I'm sure others have a lot to say in this. So I'll just keep it short. And to me, that's really what it is, infrastructure, ability, and hanging on to skills. I mean, forget about MSMEs, even larger companies, we are not able to hang on to talented people because there's always somebody who's paying more. And that becomes another challenge because I think the tribal knowledge that one has while one is doing this kind of work is important.
I'll start with this is a simpler question. What do you look for in an ideal partner? Is one who meets our cost, quality, and delivery requirements. Very simple. Challenge is to consistently do that. It's very easy to meet it couple of months, fall off, couple of months, come back in couple of months. But it is one thing to consistently deliver what's required. And I think that is not only a challenge for SMEs, but also big corporations. It is consistency in delivery at the key performance indicators of cost, quality, and delivery. That's basically what is required. It's easier said than done. It requires a lot of investment, management, and process orientation for anyone who aspires to kind of meet these performance parameters.
I'll just add to what he said. He brought out the 3 points: quality, reliability, and on time. These are the main requirements. And in a DPSU, we have a mandatory MSME procurement. And we have a rating system, vendor rating system for all vendors, all suppliers. And we do a vendor quality, a supplier quality audit. So we do handholding. If you do not have the system currently, that need not be a concern in the beginning, but later on, when we have trained the MSMEs, we have helped them in getting an AS 9100 certification and all. But this consistency later is not visible, the rating goes down and we get discouraged. So you have to continue working with the quality, timely, meeting the time and quality requirement of the main suppliers, because your non-deliveries, non-complying to this affects the total major system, and that in turn we are penalized by the customer.
Yeah, we'll take this last question and then I think there's networking after, so if anybody wants to talk to the panelists, please feel free, but please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Ish Bhargav from Spectros. Here we are having a gathering of the whole ecosystem, right? We have industry, we have academia, right? We have the defense PSUs, we have DRDO labs. In addition, we could also have the end user, like the defense forces themselves, right? And the policymakers. I think this makes the whole ecosystem. My suggestion is, that we are, all the elite people who are really part of this whole system are meeting here for 2 days. Is it possible we have a list of action items at the end of the forum to these 2 days. And we have an action item for each of these 6 category of people, And we review the progress next year. So it becomes a little quantitative kind of a thing which we aim for and try to achieve in this 1 year. And we have committees or subcommittees which work towards that objective. To make it a little more result-oriented, I mean, we are meeting, we have great people here. But if we put it down, put times, milestones, objectives for everybody, make some small committee, we can meet every 3 months, doesn't matter, or 6 months. But at least we will be able to see some progress and put our viewpoints to the right people. And, I guess some things will move really, because many of the things I'm seeing here are being repeated for last 10 years. I'm sorry to say that. All the things are repeated. Just to answer that gentleman's question, 70-30, we have not been able to even 1%. If you look at the absolute percentage, that 30 is also not there, because in 30, all the products which are there are COTS. All are imported products. We are just doing value addition by screwing those, And we are here today, we are discussing defense electronics. DRDO is issuing tenders which have all COTS products in them. I just don't understand. Is this indigenization? Is this development of indigenous capabilities? Okay, fine, they want to make a prototype, they can do it once. But they can't ask Bell to produce with COTS product. The army asked them, what's this? It's all imported products inside. Bell has just put a label here. I mean, these are some serious questions we have to discuss here, think about and put an action plan from that, to really make things happen. And as I said, all these 6 people have to be involved. It's not just one man's job, it's an ecosystem. We have to support each other, get things done. And to add to that gentleman's perspective, we need 30 years plan. Capability cannot be developed overnight. Any capability you take, it takes time. You have to evolve. We can, to answer your question, we can update every 5 years. But that does not mean that we cannot have 30-year plan because technology will change. We have to have a system of updating things every 5 years. It's not a lifetime plan we are making, but we have to have a long-term perspective. R&D institution or academic cannot be built overnight. It takes time. Manpower development takes time. Right, that's all, I have to say. Thanks.
I couldn't agree more with you. I endorse what you said, and we see exactly the issues that you mentioned. So I guess we definitely need a nodal agency. At the end of the day, when there are 6 parties to something, somebody has to take the leadership position, and then they have to drive it. So the question is, who is that? And to me, it has to be either a government agency of one sort or the other, who should be able to pull all these people together. And of course, comes with that the resource requirement, and where do you want to be in 5 years or 20 years from now. So I think it's really I'm passing the buck here to the government, but I think we need a nodal agency. At the end of the day, you can't ask a private company or an OEM to say, you take the leadership role. So that's really what my take on that is. But I completely endorse what you said. Thank you again. It's been a wonderful afternoon. Thank you to my fellow panelists. And thank you, gentlemen. I think there's networking, coffee, and if there are more questions, I'm sure our panelists will be there to answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Apparao. That was a very nice session. I'd like you to just... we'd like you, Dr. Apparao, to hand over the mementos to the panelists. Ashish, yeah. Jagmohan Singh. request the CEO of Amar Raja, Mr. Prasad, to hand over memento to Dr. Apara. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.